Hello VC, this is brother Steve here from the UK. Before I want to start, I just want to say to the people of America who are about to be hit or are being hit by all these storms that I am praying for you. You're having a really rough time at the moment, and my thoughts are with you at the moment. I also like to do a shout out as well to Andy's Vinyl Den for making me laugh this week. And he subscribed to this channel, and I wrote a little reply, said would you kindly subscribe back to his channel, and I said I've been subscribed to your channel probably since it started. It's people like you gave me inspiration to join the VC, and I'd just like to do a shout out for you. To the music, I thought I'd start the day with some German classic heavy metal. I don't know if anybody's come across this band, but this is a band called Railway. This is their first album. It was released in 1984 on Roadrunner Records. And Railway were basically formed in 1977 in Munich. They toured with some really famous bands, Tokyo Blade, Motorhead, Manowar, all sorts of bands, Doro Pesh, just to name a few. They also upstaged Kiss, I believe, as well. They were famous for that. But unfortunately, Railway lost their guitarist, and I think they briefly split up. But I've got Railway 2 as well. But this album, as you can see on the back of this album, they were sort of, sort of making their minds up what they wanted to be. But on this band, they were more heavy metal look. This is the Railway 2, the second album. Now this album's an absolutely colossally good album. It's just pure heavy metal, speed metal. Think bands like Accept, stuff like that, and it just blows you away. I must admit it took a couple of listens to, but it's just pure quality. I believe after they lost, I'm not going to try and pronounce his name because it's quite but I believe they had their guitarist died of cancer. And they did split up for a while, but they reformed, and they did make 2 or 3 more albums, so I'm definitely after those. But if you ever see it in a record store, it is definitely worth the pickup, and I didn't pay a lot of money for them either. I was lucky when I dropped on these, because the only other pair I ever saw was on eBay, so I was well blessed to be blessed with them. Now, this other album, I believe Scott may have held it up. I might be wrong. And this is the first album by this band. It's a band called Angel. This is an absolute killer of an album. I've owned it now for about 6 to 8 months. Angel was discovered by Gene Simmons of Kiss. They were playing in a nightclub. Apparently Gene Simmons was there and he discovered them. They were on the Casablanca label, again the same label as Kiss used to use. And this is an absolutely colossally good album. Anybody called Punky Meadows, I will definitely buy one of your albums, sir. It starts off strong with a song called Tower, and it just gets stronger and stronger and stronger as the album goes through. If you ever see this album, I'll hold it up again, it's definitely worth the pick-up. The last album, then we're heading towards the CDs, is a band by this band, Legs Diamond. This is another strong record. I believe they were called the American Deep Purple. If you don't know who, this album's on the Music for Nations label, and it is a 1980, don't know, I'll find out in a minute, but it's after they split up, 1984. I believe they were named, only Legs Diamond I know was an American gangster, so I believe they named themselves after the American gangster. But this was a pickup and a half. I really enjoy this album. This was the only one I could get on vinyl, and it was reasonably cheap. They tried to sell me the CD, they wanted silly money for it. So that's me vinyl for today. Another band I'm listening to at the moment, some people might like it, some might not, is Nightwish. This is a Finnish symphonic metal band. It's got death, thrash, all the influences, and it's just seriously good. I thoroughly enjoyed this album. I'm going to hold up this one. This one is called Dark Passion, I believe, Play. And this one is called Imaginarium. As we all know, some great bands come out of Finland, but if you ever see these, definitely pick them up. Some of the traditional metal headers might not like them, but I like this sort of stuff. It's just really, really good. Another band, and this is going to be an interesting one, I know nothing about whatsoever. I haven't even played them yet, but I just thought I'd hold them up because I bought one the other day, and that was this one, Dream Theater. A friend of mine said, give them a spin, see what you think about them. This is an Octavarium CD. I should definitely be doing that this afternoon. I also got one called Train of Thought, I believe. That's another Dream Theater. That was one I bought a few months back, but I haven't got round to playing it yet. So it's definitely, whether it's good or not, I don't know. If anybody's got any opinions, please comment below. Yeah, but another album I bought, and it took me nearly a couple of years to buy, I don't know why I left it so long, was this album, and I've been listening to it a lot. This is the Wasp album, Golgotha. This is absolutely phenomenally good. Some Wasp heads or Wasp fans might not like it, because I don't know if you know the story, because Electric Circus, Blackie Lawless thought was a pile of beep. So basically when he did the Headless Children, they only release meaningful music now. That is why Wasp albums have come very sporadic. Like this one, I believe, took about 4 years to make. Blackie Lawless, I believe, is a born-again Christian like myself, and we all know about the judgment, and he's very, very strict now what he actually puts through. So he says basically, I'm not going to write any music unless it has meaning to his faith or it actually means something, because the early Wasp stuff was sort of, he was reckless at the time. He didn't have responsibility and stuff like Wild Child and Half Blind in Texas and all that stuff, but now he's sort of very strict what he writes. This album is if you haven't picked it up already, do so. I sort of laid in the chair last night and just digested it with no interruptions, and because I know the Bible, I understood where he was coming from. Track 4 is absolutely awesome. 1 and 8, I think, the last one's equally as good. I just thoroughly enjoyed this album, and some of the lyrics were phenomenal, and I think it was track 4 had the tears streaming down my face. I just got it straight away, and I really enjoyed it. This album is my hero, my favourite heavy metal band, plus the fact, coming from sort of 20 miles away, I keep thinking the metal gods will strike me down if I don't mention him, and that's Rob Halford. Now this one is the box set to Resurrection. The Metal God is Back, strictly limited edition CD box set, and you get a nice little poster with it, and it comes in a nice book where you get the CD, which is good, but you also got a postcard with it, which is even better, and you got this lovely poster that came with it. Rob Halford sitting on his motorcycle, which was a fantastic thing. So I was well chuffed with that, and I believe these are not rare. You can still pick them up on a famous auction site. It's definitely a brilliant album. I think it was his solo project, or it was with a band, Halford, I don't know, but it's got some killer tracks on it. The ones I like is Resurrection, which is sort of going back to the old Judas Priest days of Painkiller, that sort of stuff. But Made in Hell's a good track, because he's actually singing about Birmingham. Whether he thinks it's hell, I don't know, but he's singing about Birmingham, the Bull Ring, and I knew whereabouts all the places he was singing. But my favourite track off here is a song called Silent Screams. It's only a track that only Rob Halford could do justice to. If anybody else tries that sort of music, it's a bit like Beyond the Realms, Painkiller, Genocide, them sort of tracks. Only Rob Halford can sing them. Anybody else tries to cover them, forget it. You've got a disaster. You may recognise another track, The One You Love to Hate, was a duet he did with Bruce Dickinson. and I thought that was sort of a weak track, maybe just my sort of thing, but I thought that was a slightly weaker. But yeah, it's just a colossally good album, this is. To go with it, I bought the Live Insurrection album, and this is the tour of the actual album. And it's when he did Judas Priest songs mixed with obviously albums off the Resurrection. Now this was released in 2000, that Resurrection was, and this was released obviously slightly later. But this is the second album. I smashed the other one to bits. I just played it upon played it upon played it. It's just a colossally good album. It's got all the killers. It's got Resurrection. It's got all the Priest stuff like Sad Wings, Hellion, Electric Eye. Genocide's an absolutely brilliant track. Beyond the Realms of Death, my favourite Priest, well, one of my two favourite Priest tracks. It's just phenomenally good. It's got Into the Pit, which was another good song as well. I believe he did that before he did this one, but it's just colossally good. Stained Class, you just spoilt for choice. And the one I like is Hell's Last Survivor. Shouldn't really like it, but I do. But yeah, it's just a colossally good track. This is like Rob Halford. But my last offering to the VC today is my favourite band. I thought I'd talk about this one because this is the actual CD that got me into Sabotage. I must admit I burst into tears when I found it, because if you have seen my previous videos, like if you go back to my introduction, you'll know what happened to me. I never ever thought I had this CD, I thought it'd gone. But I was sorting out a load of stuff yesterday and I actually found it in a box, and it really brought a tear to my eye. This was the first Sabotage CD I ever bought. This was released on the 2nd of the 4th, 1993. It's a very important CD because it, basically John Oliver didn't do any singing. The singing was taken over by Zachary Stevens, which was that guy. Basically, I believe John Oliver left and he went into a band called Butcher. Now, John Oliver had a lot of input with this album. He actually played the keyboards on it, only in the studio. I've written it down on a couple of tracks. Edge of Thorns and He Carves His Stone. John Oliver was still on the keyboards. It was also a sad album because it was the last ever album Chris Oliver made with Sabotage. Sadly, he died 6 months later. Now, the lady on the front was actually Dawn Oliver, Chris Oliver's wife, and she was actually on the front of the album. And it was also a different sort of turning of the direction because Steve Doc Walshots got rid of his drum kit, and the drum kit was an electrical drum kit. And this is an absolutely cracking album. I love it to bits. It's just so typical of the band, and it's just an amazing pickup. But I've got about 3 copies of this. I bought one the other day, funny enough, but the original popped out. I didn't think I still had it, and I was sorting through some boxes. Never sort out your record collection. I thought it'll take me a couple of hours. It's taken me about 3 days so far, and it still ain't done. But yeah, this is definitely worth picking up if you ever come across it. Sabotage, Edge of Thorns. It's just so good. But that's my offering for the VC, and a big shout out to everybody. I'm watching your VC channels. The only problem with me is on a Sunday I am busy all day, so I have to play catch up on Sunday and Monday. It's a game, especially if there's a lot of VC channels being released. It's just a game of catch up. But I do watch everybody's channels, and I just want to wish you be nice to each other, and peace out. This is Steve Headbanging Zulu. I'm starting to lose light at the moment because it looks like it's going to be absolutely kick it down with rain in a minute. So it's a good time for me to say goodbye. Take care, my friends, and look forward to seeing